What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Nigel Wellings, who has been teaching and writing about the relationship between psychotherapy and Buddhism for the last 16 years. He has served as a Director of Training at the Centre for Transpersonal Psychology and is a founder member of the Forum for Contemplative Studies and a facilitator on the Bath and Bristol Mindfulness courses. He joins me today to discuss his latest book, Why Can't I Meditate? Nigel Wellings, welcome to the show.
And I got involved with him and I began to sit. I got very, very close to that teacher. His name was actually Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche. But throughout that time, I really didn't know what I was doing. So that first period of time, I was completely confused about it. I kind of think I was playing the role of being a meditator when actually inside I was doing anything but. So when I got to around 30, I gradually slipped away from it. And then there was quite a long gap. So I certainly know about not meditating and the problems of it. And then finally, I came back to Buddhism again at the end of my psychoanalytic training. And I went to see Namkhai Norbu. He was doing a retreat. I slipped into the back of the retreat rather shamefaced because I'd been away for such a long time after having been so close. And at the end of the retreat, I said to the people running it, "Can I see Norbu?" And they said, sure, because they knew I was one of the oldest students. British students, and I went upstairs to his room, and he jumped up and was really pleased to see me. And I said, please, 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 before we say hello and all the rest of it, I just want to say I'm sorry. The first period of my time with you, I just misused your teaching to actually give myself a sense of identity, a sense of self, when actually it was designed to do the opposite, to begin to melt that storyline a bit. And he just laughed and he said, that's what everybody does. So, that was my first go at it.
What an amazing place to be in India. Wow. Have you been back since?
Yes, many, many times. Many times.
What is it about India that's so special for you?
Well, the first time I hated it, because you either love India or you hate it, because it's such a place of extremes. Yeah. And I went there purely because I wanted to study the Dharma, Buddhism. And then there was a 25-year gap. And then my wife said to me, you keep on talking about India. If you don't take me there, I'll leave you. So we started going back.
Right.
It's quite nice going back when you're somewhat older, because you can bubble wrap yourself a bit and kind of, not be so scared. I think the first time I went, I was terrified. I didn't really know where I was. But again, nowadays I'm kind of on top of it.
Well, you must have seen it change a lot.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredibly. It's like another place.
Yeah. And there must be a lot of Buddhist places to visit there. I mean, I'll be honest, I've been to Malaysia, and that can be a little bit of extremes in some places. But there's many Buddhist temples there. That was my first experience of one, and it was such a beautiful experience. But I can't imagine being in the Indian setting, just what that would be like. Yeah.
Yeah, the place is full of Buddhist stuff, but it's also full of Tibetan stuff, because of course the Tibetans got driven out by the Chinese, 59, and I think 100,000 refugees poured into India. When I was there initially, I didn't realize this, but I mean, we're talking about 15 years between their arrival and my arrival amongst them, which is no time at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of arrived there as a kid, not realizing just how traumatized they must have been.
Okay. This is there's so much, there's a lot of deeper stuff I want to get into, but just to begin with, I think we need to touch on this on the book in a surface level quite a bit as well. So first of all, as it says in your book, why do we want to meditate?
So I mean, that's the starting point, isn't it? I mean, most of our students start because they're experiencing some form of emotional distress and sometimes physical distress. So we have a form of mindfulness training over here in England called mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which is a marriage of cognitive therapy and mindfulness. And it's specifically designed for those people experiencing anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. So those are the surface motivators.
Okay, so yeah, so this could be physical pain, it could be mental pain in a sense, where, like as you say, depression, mind noise. Could it be that as well?
What's mind noise?
In a sense,
in your head.
Yeah. I term it as mind noise in a sense, but you constantly thinking about past or future, not really being in present moment, worry basically.
Yeah, anxiety.
Yeah. So it really can help us to get into a more peaceful, loving place within ourselves that we've all got access to, and we need no doctor for that. You're just helping us remember how to get into that space.
Not exactly, and this is one of the really important points of the book, and it's at some variance with the way that mindfulness is being sold to us at the moment. So most people come to our courses, most people read mindfulness books, I suspect, thinking, okay, I don't feel good in myself. I want to change my state of mind. I want to have a different set of feelings and feel good. I want to feel chilled. I want to feel cool. I want to feel happy. And what we try to say to them is, look, let go of that ambition and turn towards all of the experiences that you have, whether they're painful or pleasurable, and begin to find a way to be happy to have all of them. So we're talking about the creation, the cultivation of equanimity, aren't we? And it's equanimity which is what we're after, rather than what I call a state change, exchanging one set of emotions for another set of emotions.
And do you think those negative side of us that we don't want to deal with sometimes, those negative emotions that have caused us the pain to be at this point is there to cause us change? Is there to see it as a hidden healer, in a sense that if you're not having these problems that you call problems right now, maybe it's not going to take you into the situation that you need to be in a sense. Maybe you need to be where you are. You're where you need to be.
Well, I don't know about need, but we are where we are. It's as simple as that. It's an unarguable fact. And there's a choice, isn't there? We can either be with ourselves as we find ourselves, or we can be at war with ourselves and want to be somehow different. And what we're trying to do is find a way to stop that war and be able to befriend the person that we already are.
Yeah. How much do you think acceptance of present moment is in that truth as well?
Well, we are only ever in the present moment, and so that is the person that we accept, the person we find we are right now.
But when, as I've used the word mind noise or something along those terms, I'm in that situation sometimes, and many others are as well, because we're out of present moment and we're worrying about the future, or we've not forgiven the past.
Yeah, that's true, and we're doing that in the present moment. That's where it's going on. So it seems like we're out of the present moment, but we're always in the present moment. We can't be anywhere else. And coming back to ourselves and finding actually, how am I in this present moment? What's actually going on inside of my thoughts, inside of my emotions, inside of my body? And just finding a way to be present with that and keep on bringing ourselves back as we find we want to get away is the heart of the practice.
Yes, it is. It is. So let's get into the practice a little bit then, and how to establish a practice as well. How to establish a practice of meditation then.
Well, you first of all have to know what you're doing, and that means you need to have a very, very clear idea of the method by which you're going to practice. So if you're going to practice mindfulness, the classical way to practice is to rest the attention on the breath. And anybody who's tried this will find that it's virtually impossible to do for more than a few moments, 1 or 2 breaths. And then we find that we've drifted off into what you're calling mind, I can't remember what you called it, all the thoughts and stuff. And then after a moment, maybe after half an hour, we notice that we've drifted off. And then we just simply bring ourselves back to the breath. And so there's like a triangular journey there. So we're with the breath, we don't notice as we drift off into our thoughts, then we do notice, and then we come back to the breath. And that entire journey is the practice of practicing mindfulness. The word mindfulness comes from the Pali word sati, which means to remember or to recall. And so what are we doing? We're remembering about coming back to ourselves. We're recalling ourselves to ourselves. So what I haven't said there is that mindfulness is about losing all thoughts, having a completely thought-free state. It's not that. I haven't said that mindfulness is about finding a lovely, chilled out, calm, sublime space. I haven't said that. I haven't said, you've got to have this experience and not have that experience. All I've said is have the experience that we have and constantly come back. So having a really clear understanding of the method is the first point to establishing a practice. And it sometimes takes a long time to get a very clear understanding of what the practice is, because we keep on distorting it with stuff that we add in. I mean, we had a student who'd been working with us for years who recently, during a group, said, one of my friends says that she can have a meditation experience without any thoughts, but I can't. And we looked at her and we said, when did we ever say that your practice should be without thoughts? And she said, isn't it? And we said, no. And we've been saying that to her for years. So that's the first step. First step, have a really clear idea of what the method is.
That's really interesting. Okay. Is there a second step that you were going to mention maybe? Or?
Yeah, the next step is that most of us do it because we think it's a good idea. So the confirmation that it's a good idea is coming from outside of us, something we've read or what a friend's told us. And that's a good starting point, but it doesn't last, because we basically don't work from things being a good idea. We work from things feeling good. So the first milestone on beginning of our practice is the changeover from thinking it's a good idea to actually beginning to get some sense that, yeah, actually there's something inside of me, even though this is really difficult, that is drawn to doing it, that feels good. And if I've been doing it every day and then one day I stop doing it, that doesn't feel right. It feels a bit like I've been cleaning my teeth and then one day I don't. I want to clean my teeth again. So that's the second step. In psychotherapy terms, I talk about that as moving from the practice being motivated by superego to pleasure principle.
Okay, now, one question I'm going to ask you here is maybe going to help me a little bit to understand where we can go with this interview as well. What is your truth on the continuation of if you do believe in that, of a soul when you pass on, and the idea that maybe the soul has always been, reincarnation is a real thing. We incarnated in to have this experience, and we will go back to where we came from. What's your truth on that?
Well, you've leapt a million miles away from what the book's about, and as a Buddhist, I don't believe in the soul, do I?
Well, I don't know. I don't know much about Buddhism.
No soul. No. There is no enduring entity at the center of a person which has an existence that continues through life to life.
Right. So
you just dropped us into really complicated Buddhist philosophy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you think that when you pass, that's it's over?
No, what I'm saying is that the notion of a person passing implies that there is some sort of continuity within the personality that continues throughout a life and then continues beyond life and then into another life. And what Buddhism teaches is that if we really, really empirically search for what that self might be, a self that is enduring and isn't changing, that we actually can't find empirically that self anywhere. It's merely an idea. And what we do observe is that every single part of us is in a continuous process of change. And that is true during life as it is at the moment of dying, and if there is anything post-death as well. The whole process of existence is a process of change. In Buddhism, we talk about it as shunya, empty, being empty of anything that has enduring existence.
That's really interesting. So in Buddhism, let me get this right, that when the truth of Buddhism is that when you pass, you're not going back to a place maybe called home. That there is nothing to go back to. It is the end of life. Full stop. It's blackness.
No, the truth of Buddhism is that there is no person passing. There just appears to be a person passing. So it's not talking about where such a person, should they exist, goes. It's talking about the notion that there is a person there in the first place. And the answer is actually there isn't a person. There's just a process of change.
So what is that though? I'm trying to get my head around that. So are you saying that is that Buddhism saying that this reality is not is as though we're a dream of someone else then?
It is just dreamlike. Now, I mean, it's not a million miles away from our science, is it? That you and I, when we look at each other now in this interview, we have a sense that you are you and I am I, and that we're separate, that the computers are separate. But if you begin to go down onto a deeper molecular level, this separation and solidity begins to break down, and the deeper you go, the more it breaks down. And that's exactly the process of profound Buddhist meditation. The deeper you go, the more the semblance of separate entities with continuity breaks down. So hence I say the notion of a you or me, it's nominal, it appears to be true, it's dreamlike, But on close investigation, it breaks down.
So what in your truth then? What would it be then if it's dreamlike and this is a dream in a sense, or a holographic universe maybe, or whatever however we want to term that? What is that process of people's near-death experiences? What is that process of people communicating with the other side then? As just a word really, but it's just our understanding of what we call the other side. What is life about in a sense then? I mean, am I going to lose my personality when I cross over? Am I never going to be me again in a sense? Is this personality gone forever?
I don't know how I could answer that. I can only state a belief which I don't have. Pass. Pass. You're going to have to answer that one.
Would you see? I can sit here and say I'm comfortable with blackness if I pass and there's nothing. But I'm not going to be shocked at all if life continues in a sense that we don't understand, but as in almost as real as this, maybe realer if it could be termed as that. Would you be shocked to think that's a possibility?
I don't know. I'm speculating on something I try not to speculate on. I don't know. Pass.
Okay. Well, and this is interesting because when some people meditate, they connect with what they may call their oversoul, their higher self. They're able to connect with this part of them that's all-knowing, all-loving, and is the purest part of any person. And this part that they connect to when in meditation is almost able to give them the answers to anything they're looking for. But it's through meditation that they're able to reach this part of us that seems that's always is and always has been and has the answers to most of our issues in a sense, and we don't need to go see anyone to find that part of us. It's always there, but it's through meditation. And when I saw your book, Why Can't I Meditate, I thought, well, that's a really interesting aspect of how to get into meditation, to get into that part of us. Have you ever met anyone in your classes that has connected with something that's greater than them in a sense in this present moment?
No.
I have.
In the classes you've been to?
My own class.
Okay.
My own class. Meditation leads me to connect to a part of me that is that part, and other people are able to do this as well. That sacred space where you're able to basically walk through a door and connect to this higher dimensional part of yourself. It feels like. I mean, these are only words to describe something which is undescribable in a sense. It's like trying to describe the word God. It's just dog spelled backwards, but it's that essence of what it truly may be is beyond words, if there is such a thing. So yeah, I'm able to, I would say, connect to this part, and it's through going to that quiet space I'm able to do it. And I think you know what I'm referring to in some sense, because there's people, if you spoke to some other people in this field, you would hear the same thing as well. But I'm surprised that you've not met those people.
I can't say I have. I mean, no. I mean, I can't really talk about other people's experience, can I? Because I don't have enough.
No, absolutely. I'm just surprised that with looking into meditation that you've not come across this aspect of this work as well.
The thing is, there are different sorts of meditation, and they're very, very, very different. If I just stay with what I know about, which is Buddhist mindfulness meditation. Buddhist mindfulness meditation is not about creating a transcendent or otherworldly sort of experience. It's not about making connection with something bigger than ourselves or something divine or any of these kind of theistic notions. It's so simple. It's so down on the ground. It's so close to the earth. It's just simply saying, can I be with the fullness of my experience just how it is in this moment? And for most people, they can't, because actually being with the experience of who they are is a relationship that's perhaps too intimate for them to have. And so we gradually get used to being with ourselves, befriending ourselves. Not some transcendent space, not some alternative set of emotions, but the person that we already are now in this moment.
Well,
so that's the difference.
Absolutely. Well, that transcendent space, if we only knew how powerful we really were, and how special we are, and how how all the answers do lie within, but we deny it. We deny it to ourselves so much. And I'm sure you're right. Just to even get in the space of Buddhist mindfulness is a major thing for people as well. I know what you're saying. I bet it is. But I mean, I think we just don't. We're not supposed to. But maybe we're not supposed to know exactly what our true divine nature is. It's almost like we're here to remember. It feels to me like sometimes that there's a, that we're suffering from some sort of amnesia of our true essence of who we are, on purpose to have this experience on planet Earth, maybe. That some people term as a nursery school, potentially. But in your good book, going back to your book as well, you talk about the issues with passing the gate, with meeting ourselves, and that there's these major blockages. You've just sort of mentioned it there as well.
Yeah, that's right. I think if we just sort of start where we are, nature gives us two ways of basically dealing with our emotional and mental experience. One is to completely identify with it, so that we think we are our thoughts, we think we are our emotions, and then we tend to be run off all over the place with them. And if they are particularly distressing thoughts or painful thoughts or destructive thoughts or emotions, they can do us and a lot of other people around us a lot of harm. So that's to kind of get caught up in it. And the other one, of course, is to repress it, which is to unconsciously not allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling. What mindfulness does is it takes a middle way between those two paths and says, let's really get up close to what's going on inside of us. Let's find a way to really be present and experience it, but not in a way that we're 100% identified with it. And so that's the gate. The gate is those two ways of nature gives to mindfulness is going through the gate, going through the middle.
But then in your book as well, you do talk as well about the the sort of Buddhist ways to get out of the way as well. Because sometimes you talk about it in the book as well. We're our biggest issue, where we're stopping the practice in a sense.
Yes, because if we actually practice, and again, there's a big if there, because there's an awful lot of stuff out there now which says, you can do 1 minute's resting your attention on something and you're practicing mindfulness. Well, that's the beginning of mindfulness, but it's not much further than that. So someone who actually continues to practice will find that they come up against stuff in themselves that they're not comfortable with. They're not comfortable with sitting still. They're not comfortable with having whatever experiences occur without wanting to have a different experience. They're comfortable with memories and emotions arising within them that they've been trying to stay away from. And so the next thing they jump up and they've got their hand in the refrigerator, or they're doing emails or something. They haven't been able to stay with themselves. So the whole point of the practice is to gradually learn how to be with ourselves with an enormous amount of kindness and compassion, just as we already are.
Well, thank you for that. And bringing this forward as well, in your book you talk about core wounds. Can you just explain that a bit for us?
Yeah, developmental psychology shows that the first 5 years and the first couple of years of life are incredibly important in creating how we experience the rest of our lives. So those first years are the rest of our life, effectively. And many of us have traumatic experiences in those first years. They may be extreme traumatic or they may be quite small. And if we spend enough time practicing being present with ourselves, as we already are, we will start to find that those core wounds begin to be felt. And when they're felt, it's the thing that we've spent most of our life not wanting to feel. And so we will experience them as threatening. And that threat will create responses in our mind body, which will create a desire, a very strong desire not to go close to them and to stop having that experience. And so when that happens, there's a real possibility that we will stop practicing mindfulness.
Yes, absolutely. And you've talked about you talk in the book as well about the damaged heart as well, about places of compassion in the practice. Um, I suppose it can bring up a lot of, as you've said before, it can bring up a lot of issues, can't it? When you've been practicing this for a while, and you've started to really feel comfortable with it as well, that you can do this in any situation. But it does bring up a lot of compassion for yourself, though, doesn't it?
It requires a lot of compassion for ourselves. For many people, they find one of the things that they find, perhaps because of their core wound, is that they have very little compassion for themselves. And that when they sit, they start to berate themselves, be cruel to themselves, beat themselves up. I can't do this. I'm incapable of meditating. I'm rubbish. Everybody else can do this. Da-di-da-di-da. So the critical voice that they probably somehow taken on board when they were tiny, they're now applying to themselves. And it's in the face of that we need to cultivate kindness and compassion to, in some way, counter it. Kindness and compassion create the atmosphere in which mindfulness flourishes. And we need that. We need both of those things big time when we come into contact with our core wounds.
Yes, and do you think that if you've got a sort of religious background as well, that you're still able to work with this meditation and mindfulness? Do you think that can be integrated?
What do you mean by religious background?
Well, if you're a Christian or a Muslim and you're looking to they're coming across this information for the first time, is it something that's quite easily compatible with taking practicing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because since mindfulness has become introduced into Western culture via John Kabat-Zinn, there's been a secularization of mindfulness to some extent, taking it away from its Buddhist roots. And in those secular forms, there's absolutely no reason why someone who's a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim to start practicing. There's loads of people from different religious backgrounds practicing mindfulness.
Absolutely. Okay, now, and again, anyone can practice mindfulness. I just want to say that there isn't there's no sort of level that you need to be at. You can start straight away.
You have to start straight away. There's no other place to start.
Yeah, at the moment now. Yeah. And I'm guessing you're talking about a practice as well. So is this just an online practice that you have, or is this a sort of what is your practice about that you do? You teach as well.
Yeah, I've been teaching the practice of mindfulness since about 1998. I started off teaching psychotherapy students. And then since 2006, we started something called the Bath and Bristol mindfulness courses. And we've been teaching those courses in Bath and Bristol, as you'd expect, for the last 10 years. And we've had, I don't know, maybe 700 people or so go through our classes.
Right, but that's not something online. That's in physical. You need to be there physically to do these classes.
It's an 8-week mindfulness course, and you have loads of them in the States. The 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction course. It's very close to what we teach.
Do you know what? I've heard of these courses. I really have. I think even a friend of mine there was a course in Greece that they were going to do. That's some spiritual retreat. I have come across these courses. Yes, mindfulness course. I think they even teach the mindfulness course at Oxford Uni. I think. There's a degree course there for it as well, but I think that's like a year's worth of course, but that's teaching it. But yeah, no, it's becoming much more mainstream now, isn't it?
It's deeply mainstream. It's absolutely mainstream. It's taught in here in England. We have an all-party parliamentary report which has just come out, where politicians together have suggested that we should find a place for mindfulness in education, health, jurisprudence, and something else. What was the other one? Can't remember. But right the way across the whole area of public domain.
Well, that's very interesting because, okay, so someone that's practicing it and someone who's not, what differences can you see in people who within their day-to-day way that they deal with people and themselves as well? What differences does it demonstrate?
With practice, and I keep on emphasizing this, only with practice, I think the one great difference is that we begin to be able to step back from immediate emotional reactivity, pause a little bit, and respond more wisely and compassionately. Now, of course, that doesn't mean in every single situation a person who's been practicing mindfulness will be able to do that. I mean, I've been doing it for donkey's years and I can't do it in every situation. But it does mean that sometimes that's possible. And if we've got to be good at recognizing, there are some triggers in my life where I always lose it, and I'm going to say that's where the core wounds are active, then we really can be very alert to those danger areas. And when we find a really strong emotional reaction happening inside, a sense of contraction and fear and anger and whatever those emotions are, and we can notice that feeling in our body and go, oh, hang on, that's one of my buttons just be touched. I'm just going to pause for a minute, just let that calm down, just let my amygdala stop freaking out, and then find a different way of responding to it. And every single time we do that, we're creating new neural pathways which give us a different way of being with ourselves and the circumstances around us.
Absolutely. And do you think that when we don't deal with those core wounds, and mindfulness is most definitely a way of dealing with those core wounds, that it can end up making us physically ill with physical symptoms?
Yeah, of course it can, because if you adrenalize your system and it starts turning into stored up cortisol and all the rest of it, you can make yourself very ill.
Yeah.
Of course you can. Stress makes us ill, simple as that.
And sometimes the things that trigger our core issues, right? It's easy to blame someone else for triggering those core issues, and the blame's all on them. But actually, they've only triggered what our core issues are, and it's not those people that have triggered it. It's really the issues inside that are dying to come out to be healed.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, one of the things we really hammer home is that there's only one person responsible for our emotions, and that's us. Once we're an adult, as soon as we become adult, our emotions are our responsibility.
But there's lots of people out there who they wouldn't come from that space being adult. It would be, it's you're the problem. You've made me very upset. You've really upset me with the things that you've said. But really, when time happens, we can see that it wasn't quite like that. Actually, you were upset before with those core issues. You just never dealt with them.
Yeah, we can say that. Not everybody would respond to the same stimuli in the same way. So plainly, it's what we bring to that stimuli, which is our responsibility.
Yes, absolutely. And, in a final chapter of your book, you talk about a deeper insight, and I think it's really... it's not all pain. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, your final chapter is not all pain, and that's really looking at it's not all dark, is it? There is an uplifting side to all this.
Yeah, because when we begin to not just automatically react, but to respond, we create much more space in our life. We're not on automatic pilot. We're not just being driven along by old behaviors, thoughts and emotions that have not been serving us well for many years. There's some real space that opens up, and we really need that. We need to have a sense that it's not all about us. We're not the center of the universe, that we do need to work together, that we are all connected, and that generosity and kindness and compassion are completely important if we and our planet are going to survive. Very simple.
One of the things that that I always think about as well is that if we're all connected on some deeper level, then really, we're all one. We're all the same. We're all equal. We're all the same. And if we embrace that idea and embrace mindfulness as well, the world could change overnight.
Possibly not quite overnight. because the patterns of hurt are so strong and they keep on reasserting themselves. But we can do it little by little. We do it. There's a beautiful book called One Breath at a Time, breath by breath rather, and I think that's the way to do it. Every single breath there is a possibility to either be more open, more in contact with ourselves, more mindful, or there's an opportunity to be more fearful and contracted and isolated. And there's a choice, isn't there? Every single moment offers us that choice.
Yeah, but sometimes pain's addictive, isn't it?
Deeply addictive, because it gives us a sense of self, and it's a sense of self that many of us are frightened of giving up.
And why is that?
Who would we be if we were to give it up? Better the devil you know than the one you don't, I guess.
Well, who would you be? Who are you? Who are you really? If you take away your money, the title, anything that's ego driven, who are you? Who are we really? I wonder. What is our true nature? And I think,
is that a question or rhetorical?
I don't know. How would you answer that?
You've taken us back to the thing about the nature of the self, which I was ducking and diving around.
But it's just an interesting area to me. And you made a good point. Well, I think you do make probably a good point in that you would have to put this in your own words of why you don't like it as well. Because I think that's not why you don't like it, but why you stay away from that. Just briefly, just remind us of that, because that's an interest. I always like opposing opinions, and I love it because it's always good to think the opposites as well.
When people in our courses make a big thing about having a good experience, it places us in a difficult position, because whilst we want to celebrate whatever experience somebody has, in the sense that this is their experience, and any experience we want to be present with, we're not picking and choosing. But a good experience has something about it which is peculiarly dangerous, which is it gives us a sense of who we are. So we have the experience, and immediately we accrue that experience to me. It's my experience. I'm the sort of person who can have this sort of experience. And of course, with that, what's going on is that the experience is being immediately changed and turned into something else. It's being turned into a sense of self. And that sense of self is being clung to. And so, in fact, a good experience can very quickly lead into a closing, contracting experience, and that's its hidden danger. So it's just that. Experiences can be used offensively to shore up our sense of self. And if we're doing a practice which is really saying, okay, let's just let whatever sense of self come and go, then that's working in the opposite direction. We're not trying to shore up a sense of self with a particular experience. We're trying to broaden our sense of self by allowing any experience, all experiences, to come and go. Does that make sense?
It kind of does. It kind of does. But in a sense, maybe our true nature is just love, and we've just forgotten that.
Well, you're back to true natures again, aren't you? Something which is unchanging.
No, what you know? Well, what I say that for is that to empower you to, in a sense that we're all equal, we're all healable, we're all uniquely wonderful, and that any pain that we're going through is only temporary, because we have a uniqueness which is undescribable in a sense.
Okay.
And powerful. It gives us power back, that we are the beings, that we are the power that we always thought we were, that everything else tries to take away from us. Religion tries to take it away, other things trying to take it away, but we are that power, we are that unique power, and we have the ability to heal within as well.
Okay.
But that's just a perspective, and I don't think it's a harmful one. I mean, I hate to think that it's harmful what I'm saying there.
No, it's not harmful. Of course it's not harmful. It's a beautiful one. But if you were to imagine a situation where, let's say, somebody could find a button on you somewhere, I don't know where, in the middle of your head, and push it, and it would turn that view off. It would turn that belief off. And if you found within yourself that that was a threatening, frightening, distressing experience in any way, that would then tell you that your sense of self was dependent upon having that view. And if that were the case, that would be an incredibly important insight, because it would then show that you would need to cling on to that view to defend your sense of self. So that's the level of subtlety that I'm talking about. The view in itself is a beautiful view. It's what we do with it inside on a very, very subtle level. That is the thing I'm just trying to put my finger on at the moment. Does that make sense?
It does, and most of us, when it comes to what I've just described there, will do nothing with it. That's the difference. Really. Yeah. I don't think they will. The majority won't. Some have maybe, but I think really, no. I don't know if even I do sometimes. But I suppose when things are hurting so much sometimes, or there's just constant pain, then we have to look at things from a different perspective. But I wouldn't want to take the point away of that we are still in control of it, and we are the power that we seek for the change.
Yeah, we are responsible for ourselves.
I think that's the core of it, which is what your book is all about in a sense as well. It's just saying it from a different perspective, maybe. But it is a great book. And now this two things. The book is available from Amazon, but is that where you would recommend to get it from?
Apparently, it's going to be published by Tarcher.
Oh, well done.
In the States on the 12th of April. And my version's got a beautiful grey-green cover, and your one's going to have a luminous yellow one.
I believe so, yes. That's the one I saw. I actually quite like the yellow, to be honest with you.
Oh, thank God for that.
No, I thought that was quite nice, but I did see two different covers, right? Well, that's why then. Yeah, okay, that's why. So you don't recommend getting it from yourself to go to the whole, the bookstores to get that from?
I recommend, if you're in America, getting it from wherever you buy books in America.
You love it. That's a good answer, yeah. Okay, but and also, yes, you've got mindfulness courses as well. Now, there's someone I know that's actually doing a mindfulness course very soon, but she's from another country, but she's actually doing it, and I would recommend people to do it, because I think it is a great course to do. Now, if you're in the UK or you wish to travel to the UK, we can go to your website and book in with yourself to do this course as well, can't we?
Yeah, you can do courses with us actually in person, or you can do them with us over the phone, or possibly, now I've been initiated into the wonders of Skype, and I think this is about the third or fourth time. We might even do it like this.
Okay, so you can do it by phone, you can do it by going in person, or there may be other possibilities. So just remind us of your website to go to get in contact with yourself.
To get in contact with the book, which has got all the contact details on it, it's whycan'timeditate.com. And there's no apostrophe and there's no question mark in that. It's just straight whycan'timeditate.com. Okay. And that has my website and all the contacts.
Wonderful. And just a parting message to the audience. What would you say for yourself is the most important message of your work?
I think the most important part of our courses and our work is this ability to make a difference between automatic reactions and change that to responding. There's where the freedom is. That's where we get to become equal with all our experience. That's where we learn the kindness and the compassion. It's in the change from reaction to responding.
Yeah, so true. Well, I just want to say it's been a complete pleasure to have you on, and I have enjoyed this interview, and it's always great to get a different opinion on things. I love that, and I really appreciate you coming on and allowing me just to have that with you. Thank you.
My pleasure indeed.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on The More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.